So you may have heard of a young man by the name of Abner Doubleday, who invented the game of baseball in Cooperstown, New York, in the summer of 1839, in which after he became a Civil War hero, while baseball became America's national pastime. Not only is that story so untrue, it's not even in the ballpark. So who invented baseball? Where did it come from? How was it originated? In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about where baseball originated from and how it's been adapted to the American culture today. Baseball is a game that originally started off as a game called rounders back in England in the early 1800s. Now, rounders is a game similar of that of cricket, in which you can use a wooden stick, wooden paddle to strike actually a round object. A lot of times they refer to it as a ball, in order to tally counts, what they considered runs back in the early 1800s. The object of the game was the first team to actually tally 21 runs or 21 counts was considered the winner of the game. So the early colonists actually brought the game of rounders over to America in the early 18 to mid 1800s, where during the American Revolution the game was played in many different variations all over the U.S. Playgrounds, sandlots, even schools adapted the game. But where it really became popular was in some of the new industrialized cities that were being built in the Americas. They were sought to bring in the distinguished young gentlemen to actually play the game itself. For example, by the year 1845, a group of New York City men created the very first American baseball club, known as the New York City Knickerbockers. That still today holds as the very first baseball team or baseball club known in America. Now, as I said before, the variation of the game of rounders considered 21 counts to actually win the game. Well, during the years that baseball progressed in the Americas, they found a flaw, so to speak, in this game, in which 21 runs became harder and harder to obtain as defense became more adaptable and players began becoming better and better. So what would happen is, by the time a team would even be close to trying to get 21 runs, it's too dark. The game couldn't be completed. So one of the founders of the New York City Knickerbockers, Alexander Cartwright, implied or implemented a few different changes in the rules, one of which being putting a time limit or setting a limit on how long the game was played. Instead of actually going by runs, they would go what they consider innings. That way it would constitute whatever team had the most runs or tally counts in a certain number of innings would then be considered the winner. Also, he implemented that the actual field be a diamond-shaped field, implemented the foul lines to keep more organization and more structure to the game, implemented what everybody knows now is the three-strike rule, and also abolished one major rule to keep the game safe. That is, you can no longer throw the ball at a particular person to get them out. Keeps the game a little safer than what it was then. A lot of those rules are still implemented in today's game of baseball. Excuse me. In 1857, about 10 years after the first American League or American Baseball Club was established, they set an organization of 6 different clubs combined together to create the National Association of Baseball Players. Now, this particular association was the very first of its kind. It was the very first association or organization to actually govern the game of baseball, as well as establish a championship for the game of baseball. As the years progressed and as the years went on, many different clubs decided to join this National Association of Baseball Players. Everywhere from the East Coast to the West Coast, from north to south. The association actually grew so large and so quick, they actually had to split the association off into 2 separate divisions to not to lengthen the what they call a season for the baseball teams. They established an American division and a National division, which actually still hold today as your American League and your National League. Now, where's baseball at today as compared to where it was before? Baseball today still follows the same guidelines, still follows the same rules, still implements the same teams, but there's one big difference that sets baseball today aside from baseball in the early to mid 1800s. Early on, only distinguished upper class white gentlemen were allowed to play the game of baseball or even participate in a baseball club. Nowadays you have many different races, many different ages, both sexes playing the game of baseball. It's not secluded to one person. Baseball is played all over the globe, in every single country, in every single town. You all know of your local Little League or the adult recreation games. So every town, every country, every city, every state has adapted the game of baseball now as to how it was before. So I can say in conclusion, you can't say that one particular person invented the game of baseball. But what you can say is baseball has been evolved by many different countries, many different cultures, and influenced by many different individuals.